Have you ever had a cruise go so completely sideways that you wish you just never took it at all? Well, I just did. And between being trapped in the middle of the ocean with endless seasickness, missing almost every single port stop on the itinerary, and dealing with the kind of pain that could make a person consider calling an emergency airlift off the ship, this cruise is a cautionary tale that you need to hear about. Hey, what's up? It's Corey. As you've probably noticed, I kind of disappeared off the face of the planet for a little while now. Well, here's why. You see, I was stuck in my very own version of Cruises from Hell. I booked what was supposed to be an epic 15-night Moroccan transatlantic cruise on board the Sky Princess, sailing from Fort Lauderdale all the way to Southampton, England. With planned stops in exotic ports like Funchal, Casablanca, and La Coruña, I thought this was going to be incredible. But Mother Nature and my body had other plans for me. You see, the moment we set sail, things started going wrong. First and foremost, the weather was forecast to be beautiful for the first half of the cruise, but within a few days of leaving, the North Atlantic did what it's famous for in the middle of March and took a turn for the worst. However, I didn't realize it was going to be quite as bad as it turned out to be. And this isn't my first time on a transatlantic in the middle of this part of the ocean. I've been here several times and it can be pretty rough, but that wasn't even the worst part. You see, a few hours after sailing away, I began feeling a dull, endless pain coming from one of my teeth. And I just brushed it off saying, it's gonna go away. But of course it didn't. And by day 4, just as the weather was turning from really nice to really not, the pain was so sharp, so excruciating that I was literally contemplating asking for a life flight home, because in my mind, that would be cheaper than going down to the ship's medical center and asking for some help. But luckily, I came prepared for this cruise, or so I thought, with my own little onboard pharmacy, which included large bottles of Advil and Tylenol, and apparently at some point in the past, I was wise enough to even throw in a tube of Orajel in my toiletry bag. And this little blessing in a tube is something I will never leave for a trip without again. But even with all of these pharmaceutical aids by my side, the pain just burned right through them eventually. And when we finally reached our first port stop, which, mind you, wasn't the one we were supposed to be in to begin with, I found myself in a place called Tenerife, Spain, which is in the Canary Islands. And by this point, I was already shopping for flights home for emergency dental care. But with excursions, flights, and a bunch of transportation already booked and prepaid for, and knowing how much of a headache filling out travel insurance claims and probably being denied would be, I decided to just tough it out and stay on this cruise. But with each passing day, things seemed to get worse and worse. In fact, by day 11, I was even wearing prescription seasickness patches, which unbeknownst to me would very soon bring me to a new level of nightmare. You see, these little miracles come with a list of side effects, and it's not so much of a list of side effects for me, but a checklist of what Corey is going to get while wearing them, because pretty much everything on that list happened to me along the way, including drowsiness, confusion, blurred vision, you name it, I got it by the end of this ordeal. And when I stopped wearing these patches, well, the experience went on, because I ended up with withdrawal symptoms when I got home. And these symptoms were so bad that it took me about 4, even 5 days to recover and just be able to get out of bed. These things knocked me down so bad, y'all. And to be clear, I'm talking about the prescription ones you get from your doctor, not the over-the-counter ones that you buy off of Amazon. Those don't come with these side effects. And on top of all of this, due to the severity of the weather and the poor sea conditions, we missed almost all of the port stops that were planned for this cruise. That's right, 15 nights, 3 port stops, which actually turned into 2 port stops and a technical call. And you know, this was actually my first time cruising with Princess. And I gotta hand it to them, this was an A+ experience all the way around. Customer service is really dialed in on this cruise, and I was so impressed by all of the departments the entire time. Despite everything that was going wrong with my personal situation, I know that everybody else on this cruise was loving it. Looking at my experience as a whole on this trip, it taught me one crucial lesson. Always, always, always be prepared for things to go completely sideways, from packing away medication for a rainy day like my Oragel, to bringing the basics like Advil and Tylenol, to investing in solid travel insurance that's going to have your back. It's up to you to be sure that you're ready for these little hiccups to happen, because if you travel enough, eventually life is going to hand you a big old lemon. And on this cruise, it handed me the whole dang lemonade stand. As for where I've been, thankfully, after I got home, it took a few days to recover, and then I was able to get the dental care that I needed. Again, those seasickness patches, those were a wild ride for me. And an even bigger wild ride for me was waiting at the dentist's office when I found out that Novocaine apparently doesn't work on me during tooth extractions. Yeah, I got to feel 100% of what it's like to have your tooth pulled out of your mouth. But that's a story for the Midships crew over in the channel members only section. But I gotta ask, what would you have done if you were in my shoes on this cruise? Would you have just stuck it out like I did, or would you have bailed at the first port stop and hoped your travel insurance had your back? Leave your thoughts in those comments down below, and stick around, because coming up now is a look at what the premium Carnival cruise experience is like on their biggest ship, In the Cabin from Hell. We'll see you there.
La 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 la